Hi, and welcome to Hunt Hill at Home. Today's topic is feathers. I have this feather because Katie Conley left it behind for me, and it is a beautiful peacock feather. We're going to be investigating lots of feathers today, but first I want to share with you a joke. So, which side of the bird has more feathers? The outside. So, before we begin, I want to just give you a quick warning about using feathers. So, feathers are protected under the Migratory Bird Act, which means it is illegal for people to own feathers, except for in certain cases. You can own a feather if it's a bird that can be hunted in your state. So things like turkey and grouse, you can own those feathers. You can own a feather if it is a non-native bird, like a starling or a peacock. And you can also own a feather if you're part of an organization like Hunt Hill that has a permit to use the feathers for educational and scientific purposes. If you're watching from at home and you're thinking, oh no, I can't investigate a feather, it's all right. You can investigate a feather where you find it, or you can use one of those feathers that are okayed, like grouse or turkey feathers. You can also use a craft feather that you buy from a store. These feathers are things usually from chickens or goose, and they're okay to own as well. We're going to be investigating a grouse feather today, and we'll be using our nature journals to do that. So I have my nature journal out with me today, and I have my feather. Whenever you are using your nature journal, the most important thing is to write down your observations, not the observations that you think you should be seeing or what you expect to see. Write down what you actually see. So, when I'm looking at this feather, I see this really thick line down the middle. So, I'm going to draw that in my journal. And I notice that it gets thicker near the very tip, and then it gets really thin again, kind of like in those quill pens. So I've got my line so far. Now I'm going to look and see what other parts I see on here. So I see a little bit of feather on both sides of that line. So I'm going to draw a bit of feather, and it gets kind of flat on top. Then at the bottom, I see these little fuzzy bits hanging off. Can you see them in the camera? They're really, really tiny and fuzzy, kind of like the down in your coats. So I'm going to draw some little fuzzy bits. Now, if you're not a great artist, that's okay. This is more important that you are writing down your observations and what you see. It doesn't have to be a pretty picture. It can be if you're a really good artist, but it doesn't have to be. I also noticed that it's got lots of cool markings on it. It's got this really thick marking on top, and then it's got some squiggly lines across it. So I'm going to draw that as well. And I'm going to just lightly shade it in. Let's see how many lines it has. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now this is what real scientists do as well. They might not always know exactly what they're investigating, but they have an idea of what they see. Now when I'm looking at this feather, I'm actually noticing there's some little breaks on top. And if I move it, it separates out into little tiny pieces like this. If I rub my hands all the way down, now it's all messed up. So I can see that these each are teeny tiny little pieces that are coming off of the feather. So I'm going to kind of draw that, and I'm going to write in here too that they break into pieces. Oh, and my writing's probably backwards right now. I am going to look at this a little closer now that I've noticed that it's in pieces. And I'm going to use my microscope, my magnifying glass to do so. When you're using a magnifying glass, it's best to set whatever you're looking at down, and then you're going to start with the magnifying glass on top of that object and pull it up toward your eye so you can see it closer. Let's see if I can magnify it for you on screen. So, when I'm looking through my magnifying glass, I see that there's actually these teeny tiny hooks on the end of each of these teeny tiny little pieces. So I'm going to draw my magnifying glass. And I'm going to draw all the little pieces and hooks in there so we can see what it looks like magnified. Now, once I've started my investigation, I can also start asking myself questions like, I wonder if this feather floats. So let's investigate whether this feather will float. I have a little tub of water here, and I'm going to set my feather right into the tub of water. Let's see if I can get it so the camera can see into the tub. It's a little tricky. I wish I had a cinematographer here with me. But here's my feather floating right on top of the tub of water. And when I shake it off, it doesn't even seem wet anymore. It's pretty amazing. Another question I was wondering was, how much does a feather weigh? They seem really light. Like, if someone were to set this in my hand, I wouldn't even feel it. So I'm going to set it on my postage mailer right here and see what it reads. Nothing. It is so light that my postage mailer can't even detect it. So what if I put a whole bunch of feathers on here? I'm going to put a little boat in here, and I'm going to calibrate it so that the boat is at 0. Alright, and now I'm going to put 15 feathers in here and see if they weigh anything. Let's see. Still not even half an ounce. These feathers are maybe 1/8 of an ounce, and that's all 15 of them together. So, if you needed to mail a whole bunch of feathers, it wouldn't cost you much. All right, well, there are some awesome birds that I hear in the distance. So this is a great day for you to go out and go exploring. See if you can find some feathers to investigate on your own, and see if you can hear or see any awesome birds. Mark Sauer just pointed out that he heard a woodpecker in the background, and I can actually see it from here. It's right at our bird feeders. I hope you tune in next time. Tomorrow we're going to be doing owl pellets, and so I have some owl pellets that I will give out to local people for free. If you would like to dissect an owl pellet, I will have little owl pellet kits out on the front steps of the farmhouse. You don't have to come in contact with anyone to pick one up. They'll be sitting out so that you can just pick them up at your own time, and they'll be out all weekend for you to use. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!